Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Throughout history, some photographs captured moments when the world seemed to be reaching its breaking point. Eruptions that darkened the sky, storms that shut down cities, pandemics, nuclear explosions, industrial disasters, and accidents that forever changed the way humanity sees its own survival. In this video, you will see these images in chronological order, from 19th century events to modern tragedies that made millions of people wonder if they were witnessing the end of an era. And by the end, each photo shows that fear of the end of the world did not begin today. It has always appeared when nature, technology, and human decisions spiraled out of control. On August 31, 1859, Warren de la Rue photographed the sun at the Kew Observatory in London, recording a group of sunspots that became signs of the largest geomagnetic storm ever documented. The next morning, astronomer Richard Carrington saw a burst of white light right over that group and quickly sketched the scene, revealing a powerful solar ejection. 17 hours later, strong geomagnetic currents reached Earth, causing shorts in telegraph lines, shocks to operators, and electrical transmission without batteries. Auroras, normally seen at high latitudes, appeared in Cuba, Hawaii, and Colombia, while in parts of the United States, the red sky confused residents who thought they were seeing apocalyptic signs. The episode shows the connection between solar activity and human technology, even in the pre-electronic age, warning about the effects of the sun on civilization. The eruption of the Krakatoa volcano on August 27, 1883, was one of the most powerful natural events in modern history, marking the 19th century with extraordinary consequences. Located between Java and Sumatra, Krakatoa entered a sequence of 4 intense eruptions, with the final one heard about 2,183 miles away on Rodriguez Island in the Indian Ocean, making it one of the loudest sounds ever recorded. Atmospheric pressure waves circled the world 7 times and were detected by barometers from London to Washington. Sea waves up to 121 feet high struck nearby coasts, causing more than 36,000 lives lost and changing large parts of the island, which lost 2/3 of its area. Ash thrown into the stratosphere lowered global temperature by about 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit during the following years and produced red sunsets in the northern hemisphere, a phenomenon linked to works by Edvard Munch such as The Scream. Dutch photographs recorded the effects on the Anger lighthouse, ships, and nearby communities. The Great Blizzard of 1888 deeply marked the urban history of the northeastern United States, especially New York, where between March 11 and March 14, snowfall passed 3.3 feet in only 36 hours. The unexpected event paralyzed the region, with winds forming snowdrifts up to 49 feet high, covering streetcars and making many streets impossible to cross. Emergency solutions, such as digging paths through sidewalks to allow movement, show the difficulties faced by thousands of residents, while fallen telegraph wires interrupted much of the communication. The storm left major cities isolated for days, without trains or mail, resulting in more than 400 lives lost and affecting hundreds of vessels along the Atlantic coast. The consequences of the episode were decisive for New York to move electrical and telegraph wires underground and speed up the subway project, opened 16 years later. The failure of the South Fork Dam on May 31, 1889, caused one of the worst civilian disasters in United States history, when about 22 million United States tons of water rushed through the Johnstown Valley in Pennsylvania, striking nearly the entire area. In only minutes, a wall of water up to 59 feet high carried houses, locomotives, and tracks at about 40 miles per hour, forming a huge pile of debris over an area of 30 acres. One of the best-known photographs shows the Schultz family house suspended and pierced by a tree trunk, illustrating the force of the flood. The episode resulted in 2,209 lives lost and drew photographers who documented its consequences. The dam belonged to an exclusive club attended by figures such as Andrew Carnegie and Henry Clay Frick. But the case did not lead to legal accountability, expanding the debate over safety and social responsibility during American industrialization. Isaac Klein, head of the Weather Service in Galveston, Texas, faced one of the greatest natural challenges in United States history with the hurricane of September 8, 1900, known as the Great Storm. On that date, the city was heavily struck by a Category 5 hurricane that caused a massive storm surge, damaged much of the local infrastructure, and resulted in about 8,000 lives lost, becoming the deadliest natural event ever recorded in the country by number of victims. Klein initially underestimated the strength of the storm, making it harder to mobilize the population and showing the limits of weather science at the time and the lack of effective warning systems. The episode showed the need for better weather forecasting and protective infrastructure, leading to the construction of a seawall and the raising of parts of the land to reduce the effects of future events. The impact transformed Galveston and the way major natural emergencies were handled. The eruption of Mount Pelée on May 8, 1902, caused one of the deadliest natural events of the early 20th century when it struck St. Pierre, Martinique, in only a few minutes, resulting in about 28,000 lives lost. Known as the Paris of the Antilles, the colonial city was hit by an extremely hot cloud that moved at more than 310 miles per hour, affecting even metal structures and stone buildings. Despite clear warning signs in the previous weeks, such as the smell of sulfur and ash over the city, authorities downplayed the chance of a major eruption, and the population stayed in place. Ludger Silbaris became part of an extraordinary story by remaining protected inside a thick-walled underground cell, which reduced his exposure to the effects of the event. Pulled out 4 days later with serious injuries, he became a known figure by sharing his experience on tours with American circuses, symbolizing human endurance and the importance of effective warning systems. On April 18, 1906, a major earthquake struck San Francisco along the San Andreas Fault, rupturing nearly 298 miles in less than 1 minute and beginning a chain of events that deeply marked the city's history. Despite the short duration of the shaking, damage to water pipes made it difficult to control the fires that spread for 3 days and affected about 80% of the urban area. The fire, fed by gas leaks and stoves, led firefighters to use extreme measures, including controlled removal of structures to try to stop its spread. Photographer Arnold Genthy, who lost his studio during the episode, obtained a borrowed camera and recorded iconic images, including residents watching smoke on Sacramento Street. Official records counted 375 fatalities, although later estimates point to more than 3,000 lives lost and about 225,000 people left homeless, showing the enormous social and economic scale of the event. The event that occurred on June 30, 1908, over the Podkamennaya Tunguska River in Siberia, is considered the largest energy event recorded on Earth in modern times, releasing between 10 and 15 megatons of energy. The intense atmospheric wave knocked down about 80 million trees over an area of 830 square miles and produced a light effect that brightened Europe's night sky, allowing newspapers to be read at midnight in London. The remote location made an immediate investigation impossible, and only in 1927, 19 years later, mineralogist Leonid Kulik led a pioneering expedition to document its effects. The photographs revealed thousands of trunks aligned in the same direction and a central area where many trees remained standing but without branches, along with the absence of a normal crater. Kulik's research brought worldwide attention to the mystery and revealed the enormous amount of energy released over Siberia. On May 18, 1910, Earth passed through the tail of Halley's Comet, an event awaited with anxiety and concern in many parts of the world. French astronomer Camille Flammarion increased the fear by saying that cyanogen identified in the tail through spectroscopic analysis could affect Earth's atmosphere. The idea, reported inaccurately by parts of the press, caused fear in the United States, Europe, Japan, and Latin America. People bought protective equipment, anti-comet pills, and objects sold as able to protect them from the phenomenon, while some stayed inside their homes and covered windows. In American cities, crowds climbed onto rooftops to watch the sky with telescopes, while observatories such as Yerkes and Mount Wilson recorded the comet. In reality, its tail was extremely thin and produced no atmospheric effects, making the episode a historical example of the impact caused by inaccurate scientific communication. The 1918 flu pandemic, known as the Spanish flu, became one of the greatest public health challenges in history, reaching about 500 million people, roughly one-third of the world's population, and resulting in tens of millions of lives lost. Emerging near the end of World War I, the virus spread quickly along military routes and reached every continent in only a few months. Camp Funston in Kansas, where some of the photographs that symbolize the period were made, housed hundreds of recovering soldiers, arranged in long rows of improvised beds and cared for by nurses wearing masks. Many cities adopted new measures, such as mandatory face coverings, limits on crowds, and even trials held outdoors. Military censorship limited information about the situation in countries involved in the war, while neutral Spain reported events widely, helping popularize the name of the pandemic. The episode exposed public health weaknesses and influenced future public health policies. On April 14, 1935, the Dust Bowl revealed the devastation caused by the combination of poor farming practices and severe drought on the United States plains, affecting Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. A dark wall of dirt about 984 feet high and carrying millions of tons of soil took over the horizon, turning day into night and leaving residents unable to see their own hands only inches from their faces. Iconic photographs made by Dorothea Lange and Arthur Rothstein, photographers for the Farm Security Administration, documented this dramatic moment, showing families running from the dust in places such as Cimarron County. This environmental and social disaster caused the largest internal migration in American history, with about 2.5 million people leaving their land, revealing the deep impact of human action on nature and its lasting economic and human consequences. Orson Welles, at 23 years old, led one of history's most iconic cases of unintentional misinformation when he broadcast the radio adaptation of The War of the Worlds on October 30, 1938, through CBS. The program's innovative structure simulated live news bulletins reporting a supposed alien attack in Grover's Mill, New Jersey, causing panic among some listeners who tuned in after the musical opening. Although later research showed that the widespread fear was exaggerated by newspapers, which wanted to weaken radio as a rival for advertising, the reaction was so intense that Welles had to explain himself before a crowd of reporters. This episode not only strengthened his career, but also opened the modern debate about media impact and the dangers of mass misinformation, anticipating questions that remain relevant today. The Trinity test, carried out on July 16, 1945, in the Jornada del Muerto Desert in New Mexico, marked the first nuclear experiment of its kind in history, conducted on top of a 98-foot steel tower. At 5:29 in the morning, an extremely intense light lit up the desert, briefly outshining the midday sun, while the sand beneath the tower turned into trinitite, a greenish glass that became a symbol of the new atomic age. Berlin Brixner coordinated 50 cameras that recorded the first moments of the test at high speed, producing essential material for scientific and military analysis. The flash could be seen more than 186 miles away, while the Army initially told the public that a military depot had suffered an incident, keeping the true nature of the test secret. Robert Oppenheimer recalled a passage from the Bhagavad Gita after seeing the result, while Kenneth Bainbridge made a statement that reflected the deep moral and historical implications of that 20th century milestone. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber Enola Gay carried out the first nuclear air mission in history over Hiroshima, marking a decisive moment in World War II and in the path of humanity. The huge column of white smoke, photographed by the crew from more than 11 miles above, became one of the best-known images of that event and symbolized its extraordinary consequences for the city. 3 days later, Nagasaki was hit in a similar operation, expanding the effects of the new atomic age. On the ground, Japanese photographer Yoshito Matsushige faced a deeply difficult scene and managed to make only 5 photographs that morning, considered the only known records made in the hours after the episode. It is estimated that by the end of 1945, between 130,000 and 226,000 people had died in the two cities. These photographs became essential historical documents about the effects of nuclear technology and forever changed the world's view of the limits of modern conflict. The Baker nuclear test carried out on July 25, 1946, in the lagoon of Bikini Atoll marked a unique moment in post-war military and environmental history. Part of Operation Crossroads, the experiment aimed to measure the effects of nuclear technology on a fleet of 95 inactive ships, including the aircraft carrier Saratoga and the Japanese battleship Nagato, placed in the test area. The underwater event, carried out at a depth of 89 feet, produced a water column about 0.9 mile high and was documented by more than 750 cameras. Chemist Glenn Seaborg later highlighted the episode because of the lagoon's high level of radioactive contamination, which made it extremely difficult to decontaminate the ships and kept the 167 residents removed before the operation from returning for a long period. The test revealed lasting environmental and social consequences of nuclear technology and became a historical reference in debates about its effects in the Pacific. On December 5, 1952, London faced one of the worst air pollution episodes in its history, when a stationary anticyclone trapped particles and smoke produced by the burning of low-quality coal. In only a few days, a dense dark fog reduced visibility to less than 3 feet, forcing men to guide buses on foot with lanterns and police officers to use face protection, while residents followed walls to find their way through the streets. Movie theaters and theaters closed, interrupting much of the British capital's routine. Only in the following weeks did authorities understand the scale of the problem, later linked to about 12,000 lives lost. The episode exposed the serious consequences of urban pollution and directly contributed to the Clean Air Act of 1956, a pioneering milestone in world environmental law and an important recognition of the link between air quality and public health. On March 1, 1954, the United States carried out the Castle Bravo nuclear test at Bikini Atoll in the Pacific Ocean, reaching a yield of 15 megatons, more than twice the original 6 megaton forecast because of the unexpected reaction of lithium-7. The bright area formed by the test reached about 3.7 miles in diameter within moments and opened a crater almost 1.2 miles wide in the reef. Radioactive material passed beyond the planned exclusion zone and reached the Japanese fishing boat Daigo Fukuryu Maru, located about 81 miles away, covering the vessel with particles that seriously affected the entire crew and later resulted in the death of radio operator Aikichi Kuboyama. The episode triggered a diplomatic crisis between Japan and the United States and strengthened the international movement against nuclear testing. Its cultural impact was also deep, contributing to the creation of the character Godzilla in Japanese cinema, later turned into a symbol of fears tied to the atomic age. The Tsar Bomba, tested on October 30, 1961, over the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, represented the peak of nuclear technology developed during the Cold War, reaching an estimated yield of 50 megatons, about 1,500 times the combined energy of the events in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Initially designed to reach 100 megatons, its capacity was cut in half to limit radioactive material and increase the safety margin for the crew of the Tupolev 95 aircraft adapted for the mission. The flash could be seen about 621 miles away, while the pressure wave circled the planet 3 times, striking a village located 34 miles from the central point and breaking windows as far away as Finland and Norway. The huge cloud reached about 37 miles in altitude, around 7 times the height of Everest. Kept under heavy secrecy for decades, the full record of the test gained new public attention in 2020 and remains a milestone of the technological and political escalation between the great powers of the time. The Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962 was one of the tensest moments of the Cold War, when Major Richard Heiser, flying a U-2 reconnaissance aircraft at an altitude of about 69,000 feet, captured 928 photographs of the San Cristobal area in only 6 minutes. The black and white images, analyzed in Washington, revealed the construction of Soviet facilities for medium-range missiles in Cuba, leading President John Kennedy to confront the Soviet Union diplomatically. The naval blockade that began on October 22nd marked the height of the tension. The most critical moment came on October 27th, when the Soviet submarine B-59, surrounded by American vessels and without communication with Moscow, came close to using a nuclear weapon, but Officer Vasily Arkhipov refused the required authorization. The decision, followed by negotiations between the two countries, helped prevent an escalation with unpredictable consequences and turned Arkhipov into a historical figure of that episode. The episode that took place on the Cuyahoga River in 1952 shows one of the most striking moments of industrial pollution in the United States, in the city of Cleveland. Oily waste collected on the river's surface caught fire, exposing the seriousness of contamination caused by improper disposal of industrial materials. The flames reached part of the vegetation and put nearby vessels at risk, including steamships similar to those recorded in photographs from the period. The event drew public attention to the need for stronger environmental control and helped strengthen policies meant to protect waterways, coming before the creation of important regulatory agencies. The Cuyahoga case became a symbol of the changing view of industrialization's impact on the environment and influenced ecological movements that gained strength in the United States during the second half of the 20th century. The earthquake of July 28, 1976, transformed Tangshan, an industrial city of about 1 million residents in northeastern China, in only a few seconds. At 3:42 in the morning, a magnitude 7.6 earthquake, with its epicenter only 6.8 miles deep, struck the city for 23 seconds and damaged about 85% of masonry buildings, many of them without earthquake-resistant structures, while also cutting off bridges, railways, and essential networks. The official number recorded 242,169 fatalities, while independent estimates suggested up to 650,000 lives lost, placing the episode among the most devastating earthquakes of the 20th century. The situation was worsened by China's initial refusal to accept international aid and by the unstable political climate after the deaths of leaders Zhou Enlai and Mao Zedong. In Chinese tradition, natural events of such scale were often interpreted as signs of the end of an era, adding strong cultural meaning to the period the country was living through. On March 28, 1979, an incident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant in Pennsylvania marked the history of energy in the United States by revealing major control and communication failures during an emergency. A valve that stayed open in Reactor 2 caused overheating and partial damage to the core. Operators misreading the instruments temporarily shut down the emergency cooling system, making the problem worse. The scale of the episode became clear only later, increasing public concern, especially after the governor recommended that pregnant women and children voluntarily leave an area of 5 miles around the plant, leading about 140,000 people to temporarily leave their homes. On April 1st, President Jimmy Carter, a nuclear engineer, visited the control room with his wife, showing the government's attention to the situation. The event coincided with the release of the film The China Syndrome and contributed to a broad review of nuclear safety policies and procedures in the United States. Robert Landsberg, a 48-year-old self-taught photographer, became an important figure in documenting the eruption of Mount St. Helens on May 18, 1980. That morning at 8:32, the volcano's north flank collapsed, causing the largest landslide ever recorded and a powerful lateral blast that struck about 232 square miles of forest in only a few minutes. Landsberg was about 3.7 miles from the central area and recorded unique images of the growing ash cloud. Realizing the phenomenon was approaching, he carefully rewound the film, placed the equipment inside his backpack, and tried to protect it with his own body. His material was found 17 days later and remained preserved, allowing the photographs to be published by National Geographic in January 1981 and show the event in detail. The episode resulted in 57 lives lost, including volcanologist David Johnston and photographer Reed Blackburn, whose photographic material was also later recovered. Stanislav Petrov, a Soviet lieutenant colonel, became a decisive figure during the Cold War by preventing a possible nuclear escalation on September 26, 1983, inside the Serpukhov 15 bunker near Moscow. That night, the OCO warning system incorrectly reported the launch of 5 missiles from the United States, a situation that, under protocol, should have been immediately reported to the chain of command for a possible military response. Petrov, however, doubted the information, arguing that a real attack would probably involve a much larger number of launches. Instead of confirming the alert, he classified the episode as a possible technical failure and chose not to report it as a confirmed threat, helping prevent an escalation with unpredictable consequences. The event remained secret until 1998, and later became an example of the importance of human judgment when dealing with fallible technology systems. Petrov later lived quietly in Friazino and always said he had simply done his professional duty. The Bhopal episode, which occurred in the early hours of December 3, 1984, became one of the worst industrial incidents in history. About 44 United States tons of methyl isocyanate escaped from the Union Carbide plant in India, while several safety systems were inactive, forming a chemical cloud that reached nearby neighborhoods during the night. Without an effective warning or preventive evacuation system, thousands of residents were exposed to the compound, resulting in about 3,800 immediate lives lost and more than 16,000 over the following years, along with about 500,000 people affected. Indian photojournalist Raghu Rai recorded striking images of the episode's consequences, helping draw international attention to its scale. Decades later, studies and reports still point to contamination problems in the area and in groundwater, turning Bhopal into a global reference in debates over industrial safety, corporate responsibility, and protection of communities near large chemical facilities. Igor Kostin was one of the first photographers to document the Chernobyl episode, which occurred on April 26, 1986, when Reactor 4 suffered a serious failure that released a large amount of radioactive material over Soviet Ukraine. A few hours later, Kostin flew over the area and produced about 20 photographs showing the exposed reactor, including the roughly 1,102 United States ton concrete structure displaced from its position. The high radiation damaged almost all the negatives, leaving only one grainy and partly compromised frame, considered the first known image of the site after the event. The nearby city of Pripyat, with about 49,000 residents, began to be evacuated about 36 hours later and remains inside the 19-mile exclusion zone. Kostin's work became an essential historical document about Chernobyl and made it possible to visually record an event whose main effects, especially radiation, could not be directly seen in photographs. In 1991, during the withdrawal of Iraqi forces from Kuwait, about 700 oil wells were set on fire, creating one of the largest environmental impact episodes of that period. About 6 million barrels were burned by the flames every day, more than the consumption of many countries, while the dense smoke turned midday into an almost nighttime scene in many regions. Sebastião Salgado spent months recording the non-stop work of the teams responsible for controlling the fires, photographing workers covered in oil in front of huge columns of fire spread across the desert. It took about 9 months to control all the fires, while about 60 million barrels of oil remained spread across the ground, forming hundreds of large contaminated areas. Soot particles were detected thousands of miles away. Salgado's photographs became landmarks of environmental photojournalism by documenting the human and ecological scale of that event. The Millennium Bug, or Y2K, revealed a weakness in computer systems as the year 2000 approached, when computers that stored dates with 2 digits could read 00 as 1900, causing failures in vital sectors such as banks, power plants, and hospitals. In the final months of 1999, fear caused global panic, with empty shelves, lines for generators, and businesses prepared for emergencies in major capitals. It is estimated that between $300 and $600 billion were spent rewriting code, including the hiring of programmers experienced in older languages such as COBOL. The year change happened without major collapses, although the debate over whether the spending was truly needed continues, since countries with fewer corrections, such as Italy and South Korea, also avoided serious crises. This episode showed the complexity of technological interdependence and the importance of preventive maintenance in critical systems. At 7:58 in the morning on December 26, 2004, a magnitude 9.1 earthquake occurred near the coast of Sumatra, rupturing about 800 miles of the ocean floor and triggering one of the largest tsunamis ever recorded in the Indian Ocean. The earthquake was the third largest measured by seismographs and slightly changed Earth's rotation, showing its enormous geological scale. The waves reached 14 countries, including the Indonesian province of Aceh, the hardest-hit region, and the episode resulted in more than 227,000 lives lost. At the time, there was no regional warning system, and the sudden retreat of the sea led curious residents and tourists with digital cameras to move closer to coastal areas. Recordings made by ordinary people later became essential for researchers to better understand the dynamics of the phenomenon, making that event one of the most documented natural disasters up to that point. In 2006, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System was put in place to reduce the effects of similar events in the future. The episode of March 11, 2011, in northeastern Japan became one of the most important natural and technological events in recent history, when a magnitude 9.1 earthquake struck the region for about 6 minutes and was followed by a huge tsunami. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant shut down automatically after the earthquake and activated diesel generators to keep the reactors cooled, but about 50 minutes later, waves from 43 to 49 feet high passed over the 19-foot protective wall and flooded the basements where the equipment was located. The loss of power damaged the cooling system and caused severe damage to the cores of 3 reactors, along with hydrogen events that affected parts of the buildings of Units 1, 3, and 4, recorded by Japanese television. About 154,000 people left nearby areas as a precaution because of possible radioactive exposure, while the tsunami resulted in more than 18,000 lives lost. The episode led many countries to quickly review their nuclear safety and energy policies. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.